At CGEF 2018 in Singapore, I had the pleasure of meeting Ross Stokes of GeoMain. He told me about his app, which brings the location addressing system we use to the age of blockchain and cryptocurrency. Downloading the app and receiving an invite to meet up, I easily found Ross through the GeoMain app and was on my way to find out more about this awesome project. In this interview, you will get to know Ross Stokes, CEO of GeoMain. He will share with viewers the important partnerships. You'll learn about the high utility of the GeoMain app and the implications to society, as well as important aspects of their crowdfunding efforts and their native cryptocurrency. The questions I ask in this episode of Decentral Report are time-indexed in the description box of this video, so you can catch all the best parts of this in-depth interview with Ross Stokes, CEO of GeoMain. Before you move on, like, share, and subscribe.
Hi everyone, I'm Decentro here at the Old American Embassy in Singapore with Ross Stokes from GeoMain. Ross, thank you so much for being on the Decentro Report today.
Happy to be here, Decentro.
So I had an exciting time using your app to find my way here. It was a really engaging experience. First, we're going to talk about GeoMain and the app itself and the problems it solves. So GeoMain is looking to both simplify the addressing of location and also make it limitless in scope, is from what I'm gathering from the use. So with an app that's already available for the iPhone and an app that's going to be released any day now
on Android. Yep, any
Fantastic. Day. So it's a really exciting project, so we're going to get the details about that right now from Ross. And let's start by exploring what's wrong with the current addressing system. So let's talk about that.
It's an interesting history, and it's really just since I've been involved with the project, have really looked into why there is so many problems. And it's a very old system. It's one of the oldest systems still in use today. And if you look back to guys like revolutionaries like Cyrus the Great in Persia started the first postal system 2,000 odd years ago, and then you had Napoleon 200 or 300 years ago and his team start introducing street names and house numbers. So there's a huge history that we're embedded in our fabric. So it's the problem is that we're now in a digital age.
Yeah.
And all that history means that a typical address can be anything up to 10 components, making that address up from numbers and street names, suburbs, postcodes, regions, cities, you name it. You know what it's like to address something,
It
right?
is really tedious to input my address when I'm ordering online or anything like that. So yeah, I can see where you're coming from, totally.
So when you think about it in today's communication, I would never send you to my website by giving you my IP address.
No, that would be nonsense.
So why am I still doing that with addresses? If I like coming here today, I could have sent you all the fields that are required and the description of how to get from the gate up to the house, all that sort of stuff. It takes time. Mm-hmm. It's actually quite tiring when you think about it, and then it has to be repeated probably 2 or 3 times during the trip because the person gets lost or can't find the exact location. So in today's age, it should be as simple as saying one word or a compound of words, and that's it. Done. The address is communicated.
Well, we're going to take a look later, but I basically clicked on Ross's link through the app, and it was easy as. Photos involved as well for sort of step-by-step at the end, navigating through the condominium and whatnot.
Right.
Yeah. So the tedious side of it, clearly taken care of. So what other sort of legacy problems are there that you want to talk about?
Well, from the way it's been set up, it's always been centrally controlled. So it's very authoritarian, managed and directed. In this day and age of democratizing and decentralization, which is the word you're very familiar with,
indeed,
right?
Yeah.
We see a need to empower the people. So we're about empowering people to name their world.
Okay.
And that has huge implications across first and third world scenarios, whether it's just improving the seamlessness of communication and use of locations to basic human right of people having an address. We've got billions of people on this planet who do not even have an address.
Right. So the legacy system, because it's a top-down system, people, for example, in refugee camps or in transit, really can't do anything about that.
Yeah, and urbanisation growth figures are huge, significant, and the planning required from a city planning type of thing, it just can't keep up. So whether refugee camps is an interesting one, because of the UN and organisations managing them, they're actually quite well organised, but it's still an old kind of system. It's not a digital system, but like in slum areas or major urban growth areas in the likes of Philippines, Indonesia, India, for example, we've got issues there where people cannot create an identity based on a verified address because they never got issued one.
Right. It's interesting when you talk about blockchain and decentralization, the buzz is around banking the unbanked.
Right.
But this technology, GeoMain, can address the unaddressed.
Absolutely. And if you think about that point of banking the unbanked, if you go and open a bank account, what's one of the first things they ask for?
You have to have an address.
If you need to get credit, you have to have an address, right?
Yeah.
So if we want to, this is a huge part of the global population that has this challenge of having an address that is trusted and usable in an application situation. Mm-hmm. And that could be an application for banking, credit, education, applying for a job online, all those kind of things. So the barriers it's a barrier to entry at the moment for a lot of these people.
All right, so I want to talk about the partnerships that you've made, right. And I'll start off by asking, so somebody who doesn't have an official address, mm-hmm. Can they actually use your app at a bank to open an account? Or
no.
Is that something that needs to be worked out down the road as far as a partnership goes?
We're working on, in terms of the verified address, it's a little bit like Twitter or Facebook. If you're a brand or a personality, you can go and apply for being an official brand or personality and you get a tick mark. So there's certain rules and criteria. So we're taking that kind of thinking into our system, mm-hmm. and through the blockchain provenance capabilities, enable people to apply to have the address verified. And we'll have a lot of participants that help enable that. They will contribute some of that, then people who are visiting that particular address, or like a delivery company or something that some of the actors that can help verify it, and then they'll get a ranking saying anywhere from 100 to 1,000 points in terms of is this a trustworthy verification.
Okay,
then the bank or whoever the other party is can decide whether they want to use that in their application.
So it's like KYC, but KYA, know your address.
Yeah.
So that is in the works to
yes.
seamlessly allow banks to trust addresses
yep.
that are displayed on the app. Okay, so that's a partnership or a development down the road.
Correct.
What do you guys have to announce as far as partnerships right now?
Well, right off the bat, if anyone's using our app, they'll notice that Grab and Uber are already in there.
I did notice that.
Yep.
So Grab and Uber?
Yep. So Grab, for those listeners, viewers who are not in Southeast Asia, they are the Uber of Southeast Asia. They bought Uber out. They have 95 plus million users across Southeast Asia. We've had several meetings with them. They've engaged with us in working with making sure their app works in our app. So it's been really helpful.
Can it go the other way around? Can your app work in their app?
That's what we're working on at the moment.
Okay, cool.
Because there was a glitch in terms of pulling the data from our app, so it immediately populates their app. And their engineering team are just getting that sorted out. I think in the next version that'll be done.
Oh, so they've got guys on their end working to help make it happen as well. So they're really taking this seriously.
Yeah,
that's
for
a
sure.
proper partnership.
Yeah, that's cool. Uber, on the other hand, is open API. We've put it in there, and I'm sure we're going to have discussions down the line. But our focus is with Grab in Southeast Asia, on the taxi side.
Well, it's a huge market just on its own. Yeah.
And the other cool thing is Here Maps. We've partnered with them. They've been very helpful. If you go in there, you'll see it's Here Maps, and they're now number one commercial mapping platform on the planet, and you'll see them more and more across all the big mapping situations.
So partnership with Here Maps. I'm personally gravitating away from Google for a number of reasons, some of them moral. So just quickly, can you outline why you would want to use Here Maps as opposed to Google?
Well, one, they're very, very partner friendly.
Good.
Yeah, really, really helpful.
And cost effective from what I heard.
Cost effective, and that's a big thing for us to consider, because when scaling up, the cost of using each user coming in and using it is a big factor, so that's part of it. They're very aggressive in terms of development and working with partners, and they also allow us to manage our data as we see fit, and that kind of arrangement is critical.
Nice. And as far as the data privacy issues go, from what I understand, Here Maps is quite a bit more responsible, I would say, as compared to Google.
At this point, it is really our responsibility with our users to enable them to configure what privacy they want.
Right.
So you can go into the app right now and say, no, this is just private. If I sent you Ross home as I sent you, if I'd marked it as private, you would have had to use a code I would give you, and only you would have access to that data.
Okay, and that's a one-use code just for me, so I wouldn't be able to share your address.
Correct.
That's great.
Yep.
I did want to ask about the security features of the app itself.
Yeah.
From what I understand, it's you can create names for locations.
Correct.
Yeah, and for example, I can say meet Decentro as a tag.
Yes.
And I can update at any time I want the location of Decentro.
Correct.
Yeah. So there's quite a few privacy issues surrounding that, but you've got that taken care of because...
Well, some of the personal stuff you want private. So some people will not want their home up on the public map or being able to easily share it. So that we've configured that so you can make it private. But however, most businesses want it public.
Of course, yeah.
If I have one for Meet Ross, which is all my business meetings that I have in cafes, which I love meeting people in cafes. So I have 7 or 8 different of my favourite cafes already set up. And all I have to do is instantly link to the cafe I'm in. People type in Meet Ross, they know exactly where I am, how to get there, call the cab, done. Easy. And so that's a very practical usage. Another one, I had a fun conversation with a friend of mine who's got a band called Dirty Perfect here in Singapore. And
that's a band name.
Yeah, he's a fantastic guitarist. You want to see his clips, they're really cool. Anyway, he was looking at, so then I could set up my gigs and I could call my geo name Dirty Perfect and then just point to the gig I'm playing in. And then people, all they have to do is go Dirty Perfect and they know exactly how to get to where I am. And I said, that's great use.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
Especially for a band, because like you can just randomly be like, I want to go see a live show. Are these guys playing? Let's see where they are. And boom, just a couple of clicks away and you can see where they're playing at.
And some of the band gig locations are quite difficult to find at times. And if you haven't been there, you don't want to waste time.
And basements. And I hear you.
Yeah. So what I love about this, it's a platform. And every time I speak to people, we come up with cool ideas around how this can be used. I've been talking to charitable organisations, talking about peer-to-peer charities, people-to-people charities. So if I know someone's geo name in a situation where they need something and I want to give it, I can just take their name, put it into an Amazon or Lazada who's using our API. Bang, it's populated. I pay for it. It's sent, done. There's no intermediaries involved, and I will know that they've received it because we'll record it on the blockchain and come up with some verification on that. And they can even use the platform to show photos of them receiving it. So that was I thought a really cool use that someone came up with the other day.
All right. So from what I understand, there's quite a bit of added value through the tagging of locations and the naming of items. Right. So I want to talk about that, and we can roll into the token itself and also your ICO. So let's talk about the this added value through the naming system you got.
Yeah, if you look at it, it's very easy. If you I'm not sure whether I mentioned it, but we see ourselves the .com of location. So if you're wanting to understand it, you wouldn't send someone to your website with an IP address.
Right.
You send them a very memorable name, and it's very easy. You just go, that's what it was. Type in something.com or whatever it is, and you get all the information about what it is that person wanted to communicate. The same thing we're doing with addressing. You can create any memorable name you like, whether it's personal, branding, business, just for fun, and use it in any way you like around a location. So I think there's a lot of fun that's going to come out of using this. You could go in there and find a landmark that's still available and have a bit of fun around that landmark. For example, the Eiffel Tower or Paris or whatever it may be. You know, you could go in. There's creativity is the name of the game here as well.
Well, you see that a lot online, and I'm a bit curious. For example, whoever bought Crypto.com probably 5-6 years ago, I know that the Monaco Card crypto project just bought the domain for $1 million.
Wow, did they?
I thought it was a bit excessive and, you know, whatever, but that's not an uncommon thing, like buying domain names. Yeah. So,
well, on that point, like this, and this is what's going to happen. I hope the viewers are taking note here. If you ever missed out on your Twitter handle, your Facebook handle, your .com website, LinkedIn, for example, don't miss out on this. Take the advantage of getting your primary name or the fun name or that name that you want to use. It's free if you download the app, and then and if you want to buy more, it's only about $5.99. It's very inexpensive. The risk
so you
is
get one name for free?
Yes, when you download the app.
Right.
And the risk is that you don't, well, I'm not so sure, which many people did in each of these other launches over the years, and later on you I knew about it, I wish I'd got it. I did that with several .coms. I thought, should I register this or not? Because I was involved in the internet back from about 89. And I picked
89?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I picked up some nice names, but I thought, the internet was so young. It was like I had no idea where it was going to go, and I didn't really appreciate how valuable these .coms were. So I learned from that.
My mind is just racing with the possibilities. Like if I throw down a couple $100, I could really scoop up some really good names, knowing that the company's probably going to want to buy it off me after, you know.
That happens. It happened recently, well, not so recently, but in India with .in, they were released for $10-11, and people made thousands of dollars for buying the .ins. Like I think it was poker.in. Someone in India bought it for $12, sold it on for $2,000. A friend of mine picked it up for $2,000 and sold it on for $50,000. So these things happen. It's a bit of a speculation, but for a few dollars here and there, it's worth getting it and see what happens. But that's the speculation. The other side of it is just using it.
Cool. So there will be a token involved with the project. What's it called?
It is called GeoX.
GeoX?
Yeah.
Okay.
GeoX.
Yeah.
We're planning out that at the moment. We're about 50-60% done on our white paper. We've taken some time around that because it's quite a sizable project. We've got some very cool people involved in the token economy, the blockchain architecture. So there's lots of dialogue going around what is best suited for this. And I like the structure of what you've done here, because to me it's always business first, strategy first. What is it we're doing, and then look at what needs to enable it. And in this case, we've got standard databases, we've got blockchain architecture to think about, and then what is the token economy that we need to take care of.
Right. Yeah. So what does that token economy sort of look like right now?
Well, there's a few uses we've got in mind at the moment. So buying, selling, trading, and transfer of names.
All right.
So those are 4 key elements.
And will that be GeoX exclusive?
Yep. At this stage, the thinking is yes.
Why not?
There is a bit of debate. Oh no, sorry. In terms of versus fiat, there will be a fiat enablement as well, because there's still a lot of people out there who just want to use fiat. However, those who use the GeoX will get it at a significant discount.
Okay.
So we will encourage people to go and use their GeoX to buy names.
Well, that makes sense. You don't want to have a barrier to the app itself.
No.
For those who
the more on the merrier, and we're not trying to be exclusive here. We're trying to be as inclusive as possible, making it easy. But we also are passionate about where blockchain is going, and we're thinking that through and making sure we're staging our business development along those lines. And we've got already sort of 3 stages in our plan so far in terms of where we are now, what happens next, and then what's going to happen potentially in the next 2 years around our blockchain architecture.
All right. Any other use cases for the token itself? So buying and selling names.
So incentivizing, one of the key things I mentioned before was verification of addresses. So there will be participants in there who, like delivery companies or delivery people, who will be incentivized to participate and just simply saying, yes, I delivered this package to this address and I've done it 10 times. So it helps enable a level of trust that that person is at that address. So we're looking at who those participants are around the provenance of an address, incentivizing people to create geospots and geonames. So those points of interest are really key to our whole ecosystem. So it's not just a matter of getting a name and parking it. We want to have people populate with cool photographs and textual information around public landmarks, your businesses, your personal profile that you want to make public. So we're going to encourage that with geoxes. So then you build up geoxes in your wallet and can use them to buy more names or exchange them for other currencies.
Possibly pay for Grab ride? What do you think?
That's a great idea. Hope Grab are watching. I think this is very cool. How we pay for geoxes, taxi rides with geox. That's an interesting point because they have a point system now, so maybe we can use geox to purchase points.
Oh, so this is a fresh decentral idea for you?
Yeah.
Nice. It seems to be every interview I have, I drop a nice idea bomb on the project that really can change things. I'm glad I could do that again.
Right.
That's cool. I just want to quickly ask, are there any delivery companies or couriers involved?
Not as yet. There are discussions that have been opened up, also with co-working spaces, because if you ever work out of a co-working spaces, when you first go to one, typically they're hard to find because they're in sort of a quirky location in a building. So getting people to that location, then B, when you're a business in a co-working space, you want to keep a unique brand. It's like I use a co-working space. I have Ross Office and I have GeoMain, and that points to where I am. So it holds my brand when I share the address, and so it enables any business in a co-working space to brand themselves at that location. Right. So we think that's going to be a great use case for first off the bat.
Okay, so your ICO, what are the funds being raised for, just to a boost of capital to take this project to the next level?
We very much see ourselves as a global play. However, from our marketing strategy, we're very Southeast Asian focused to begin with in terms of where our funds are going. We just look at Indonesia market alone, it's huge. And then when you add Philippines, Malaysia as sort of 3 ports of call, and potentially India, to market to those countries at the volume we want requires significant budgets.
Yeah.
So that is one of the primary reasons for the ICO. Also, the next layers of technology development we've got in mind in our roadmap. We're very happy with what we've done so far. We've got a significant build on the back end. We've got our trading platform just about ready to launch. We've got the app done.
So the app will have a trading environment as well?
That will definitely be online in terms of in the website. Part of the roadmap is to bring it into the app as well.
Okay. You do know that Hobie.com has cloud exchanges?
Yes, I haven't.
Just thought I'd throw that out there for you.
Thank you. I will go and explore that again.
I just interviewed the CEO of Hobie Canada.
Okay.
That was something that came up in the interview that I did want to share with projects as I meet them on the road.
I will go and take another look at that. Thanks.
Let them know Decentro sent you.
Well, I heard it here.
So ICO key dates?
We don't have a definite start date, but the intention is mid-November.
All right.
And we'll run it through probably till mid-January. Mm-hmm. We've got a public and a private sale. So we're just working out the final mechanics of that at the moment. We want to give ourselves a little bit of time, because when I came on board with this project, I've already been involved in several ICOs and done a lot of studies on others. And as those who have been investing and have been participating and working with ICOs, one of the big challenges is doing everything right in terms of leading up to an ICO, making sure your MVP is well developed. You're not just doing some vanilla gloss over on the technology, that it's usable. Mm-hmm. So that's number one priority. So that minimal violent product is up and running. As you said earlier, it's on in the iOS App Store now, with Apple App Store, and the Google App Store, as hopefully, touch wood, tonight or tomorrow. And people are using it. We've got 2,500 users on there already in our beta group, testing it and using it. So I'm really happy with that. So the next stage is we want to scale from that 2,500 users to, my goal is 1 million users before we go to an ICO. So it's a bit of a tight schedule now, but if we can get several 100,000 on before we start, that's a great community of users genuinely been able to use the Geox tokens. So post ICO, when we list, it's not just about what it does on the exchange, it's about now taking your Geoxes and buying more names or participating in the community. So to me that was fundamental of getting technology built, community formed, and a usable token day one post ICO.
All right, nice. ICO token metrics are very important for when I assess projects and provide feedback.
Yes.
Which is part of what I will be doing for you.
Correct.
Are you pegging your price to fiat or Ethereum?
Do I have to answer that?
So undecided.
Yeah, it's a bit of a philosophical discussion, and there's pros and cons both ways, as we know.
Really?
Yeah. Philosophically, I'd like to peg it to Ethereum.
Of course, being into decentralization.
Yeah, absolutely.
Supporting anything other than fiat as much as we possibly can. No, I totally
That's
hear
my
you.
push, but I've also got an advisory board and others to consider in this conversation. So it's to be confirmed. I'm not going to state where I think it'll be right at the moment.
I'll throw my 2 cents in.
Please do.
And I'm decentral. Like, I am so into decentralization. I invented the word decentralution. But at the same time, I would prefer when I invest in ICOs that they're pegged to fiat. Yeah, and the reasons are obvious.
A level of comfort.
It's an investment, and you don't want to see your investment before it even launches lose half of its value. And that's not going to happen with fiat unless it's like the Argentinian peso,
right,
or the bolivar. So I mean, the idealistic reasons, I totally vibe with that, but the majority of people that get involved are actually for the investment side. So that's where I come in and say, let's take care of the investors as best as we can and peg to fiat. So
yeah, and for me, it's not. Investors is not a language we're using for what we're doing. Where people are purchasing our tokens, because I genuinely believe ICOs were set out as crowdfunding mechanisms for supporters of a particular product or service.
I'm glad. Yeah, I did sort of generalize that, but you're right.
And it turned into a speculative environment, which has helped a lot of projects get underway, but I don't think it's actually served the purpose of what an ICO, my belief, should be. And that's generally what we're doing here. I think we're going to have so many people come on who'll spend $50 or $100 to buy names. They'll buy some Geoxes because they're going to get a great discount on the names, and they can go and speculate on names if they want to.
I will be.
And,
for sure.
And then all that activity then supports price appreciation at a responsible level. I really despair at watching these ICOs do these pumps and dumps post, and then they languish for a year for waiting for the technology to be built.
Yeah.
I definitely do not want to do that. And then coming back to your pegging point of view, fiat to Geox is probably where we'll go. You're right. What you described is correct, and particularly in our case because we're already selling names in fiat.
Yeah.
So there's some logical associations there, and enable us to be able to promote the Geox, it's a clear relationship between what you'd pay in fiat versus what you'd pay in a Geox is easy to understand. I hope we get to a world soon where it's easy to translate that into a Bitcoin or Ethereum discussion as well.
Yeah.
But I think from a Satoshi or a decimal, the decimal or the fractionalization of those, it's a hard discussion sometimes.
All right, so just to conclude here, let's just throw some ideas out there for geo names in Singapore that would be like a hot domain name to buy that could be worth. Let's have a top 5 hot geo names for Singapore. And I'll just make it clear, I'm going to buy at least one of them tonight. But let's,
because
it's a bit abstract, right?
Yeah.
So let's bring it down to
Well,
the
I
earth
know
here.
Marina Bay Sands is already gone. Someone I had a discussion like this with went off and bought a collection of names, and I know one of them was Marina Bay Sands. So
Yeah,
it's going to be an interesting discussion for
That's
him.
an obvious one.
There's things like Merline, Fort Canning. You could Ion Mall. So there's some real interesting landmarks, I'm sure that Suntech, all those, as far as I'm aware, haven't been reserved. If you look at the domain name history, there's plenty of people buy those names and use them for other purposes, and then have given a nice offer to later on to the bigger player to take that name back, right?
Is there a search engine in the app? So let's say I want to go gambling in Singapore, I do a search on casino.
Yes.
Okay, so this is an angle for name speculation that I'm going to take.
Right. So at the moment, if you type in casino, it'll just tell you whether it's available.
Yeah.
Or if it's not available, it'll bring up actually what the location is and all the information on it.
Right.
We're building more search function around that to get. If you type in casino, then it'll give you some other options. Like when you go to a GoDaddy, they give you some amazing iterations of that core word. We're building that into it as well.
Excellent.
Well, and you think about it, there's only one shot at this location game here. We don't have dot something else coming up. It's just
true.
This is Decentro's it. Ross is it.
Right.
So then you have to be creative of what you're going to do, whether it's first name, last name. But you can buy many names. There's no stopping you doing that as well for whatever purpose. Like I have Ross Home, Ross Office. Meet Ross, GeoMain. I've got a couple of fun ones in there as well.
Nice. All right. So to conclude, any final words for viewers?
I would love you to go and enjoy GeoNames and GeoSpots under the GeoMain system. Just have a lot of fun with it. Would love to hear what you think of it. Send me your stories. Keep in mind if you're new to ICOs and cryptocurrencies, watch our story. I'm hoping it'll be a great playbook of how an ICO should be done.
Right.
Sticking to the essence of what crowdsourcing is about, of genuine support. You can come and participate. If you need any help on that, please let me know. I'm happy to help in any way I can.
All right, Ross. Well, it was a pleasure having this conversation with you. And in the city that never sleeps, we actually had some reasonable quiet. It was truly a pleasure to pick your brain about this project, and all the relevant links will be below the video, so I encourage you to download the app and start buying up some location names. Thanks for watching, everybody.